get started. So we have 3 talks in the session. It's the third talk by Zhao is moved up from later in the afternoon. And so first off, we've got Dragos, who's talking about a universal MPC machine.
Thank you, Ali. First, thanks for inviting me here. And this talk is mostly based on joint work with Tim, which is called Marble Circuits. And here we are. So what is multi-party computation? Suppose we have 3 parties, Alice, Bob, and Charlie, who want to compute the function over their inputs while keeping them private, right? So this is multi-party computation. How can they achieve this? Well, there are 2 paradigms. Basically, there's secret sharing paradigm and there's the Garble circuit paradigm. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, secret sharing is good on fast networks, whereas Garble circuit is good where the latency time is big between the computers. Secret sharing is good for arithmetic, also Boolean circuits, Garble circuits. There is some progress for arithmetic garbling, but it's still faster to do Boolean gates. Secret sharing is also good for low depth circuits where you have like many AND gates, whereas Garble circuits are good where the depth of the function you're trying to evaluate is big and it has few AND gates. So now the question is, can we switch between the 2 paradigms so that we can get more efficient protocols? And there is some previous work to do this. There's ABI, which is done by Daimler, Zoner, and Thomas Schneider. It's done in the semi-honest setting with 2 parties. So we have 2 parties, and they want to switch from secret sharing to Garble circuit. Well, they do this by going from, they have basically 2 protocols in the secret sharing paradigm. They have GMW, which works modulo 2 to the k, and they have GMW, which works modulo 2. And they can switch between the first one, the secret sharing one, and the garbled one. The garbled one is the YAL. So they can do this fairly efficient in the semi-honest setting. So the goal is to have kind of these mixed protocols where we can get more efficient protocols overall. And there's ABI-free, recently published at CCS by Mohazad and Reindl. And this is basically an extension of ABI, which works for 3 parties, and they're also doing the conversion securely such that they also support malicious adversary, but with honest majority. So now the question is, what about this honest majority? Is there any efficient way of doing this? So we have multiple parties where all but one can be corrupt, and we want to guarantee the privacy of the honest parties. And there's for the purpose of this talk, we'll focus for pedagogical purposes on speeds and speeds BMR. And there's a way of doing this. So we have speeds, which is good for secret sharing, which works over modulo, over mod P arithmetic, and we have speeds BMR, which is for the Garble circuit paradigm. And there's a way of switching this. The naive version requires around 100,000 AND gates to evaluate in the Garble circuit. So basically, there's a check in speeds, which is called the MAC check. And if we do that in the Garble circuit, then we can have a share in the arithmetic sharing, a share in the secret sharing. We can transfer it to the Garble circuit by just doing the MAC check inside the Garble circuit. This is the straightforward, the naive way to do that. Yes. So we assume that this is a 128 prime, bit length prime, and we also assume Montgomery arithmetic. So it's not just like n square multiplication. It's Montgomery. So it's not that naive, but it is just doing the MAC check inside the Garble circuit. And the other way around, it also kind of does the MAC check. So there are many AND gates to be evaluated in the Garble circuit. So we want to avoid that. What we do in our work is that we go from 100,000 AND gates to just to 1,000 AND gates. So we kind of avoid that MAC check, And to go from a garbled circuit share to an arithmetic share, we require basically no AND gates. But there's some pre-processing cost there, which I'm going to talk later. So how general is this technique? So we have two variants of speeds, which works in the secret sharing manner. We have FP and we have Z to the K. So the sharing is either modulo P or either modulo to the K. We also, well, there's also like F to the K, but I won't consider that for now because it's easy to convert from F to the K to a garbled circuit share. That's done by Keller and Yanai in the Eurocrypt paper last year with the ORAM, but I won't go into that. So the main difficulty is do mod P to mod 2. And our technique is quite general. We can convert from two different garbled circuit protocols, such as Speeds BMR. It also works with the recent more efficient garbling techniques, such as WRK and HSS. And do we stop here? No. We can also do from speeds to the K to the garbled circuit paradigm. So when the share is modulo 2 to the K. And we don't stop here. We can also do from speeds, which works in mod P, to speeds, which works in mod 2 to the K. So it's almost black box. I'm going to talk about the limitation a bit later. And it also works if you want like a machine, an MPC machine, which does all kinds of secret sharing, and you want to switch between different access structures. This technique can also be used to convert from malicious security to honest majority and vice versa. So there's all sorts of conversions we can do. Our focus, as I told you before, is going to be from speeds, which works in mod P, and to speeds BMR, which works mod 2. Good. So now let's recap. What are the malicious security protocols based on? There's like usually two phases. There's the pre-processing phase, and there's the online phase. The pre-processing phase usually requires public key crypto. It does require public key crypto for malicious setting. Whereas for the online phase, we get to use, we have our inputs and we use the pre-processing phase to compute over our inputs. So there are multiple protocols which work in this setting. There's Speeds, there's TinyMT, there's BDOS, there's Mascot, there's WRK, there's HSS. There's a lot which use this paradigm of pre-processing online phase. So let's talk a bit about speeds over mod P shares. So a sharing, which I denote in a box, in a blue color box, we have in speeds which works mod P, in the secret sharing version of speeds, we have a MAC key which is shared across all parties, but no one knows the MAC key. So there's a global key unknown to the parties. We have, if we have a share of X, which is additive shared, so if all parties sum their shares, you're going to get the secret value. And to get malicious security, you also need a MAC on top of that share. So each party has, along with its share, also the MAC on it. And this MAC, if you sum all those shares, we get alpha times X. That's the MAC on an input X. So to add shares, we can do locally additions. So if we have a share of Y and a share of F or share of X, then we can just locally add the shares. Each party locally adds the share, and they get a share of X plus I. To get the authentication of the sharing X plus I, each party just adds the share of the MAC, and because the MAC acts kind of a linear operator, we have the share of the sum, a share of the MAC on the sum. All good? This is speeds 101. Now, how do we provide inputs to this speeds? To get, so let's say Alice has input X. She can retrieve a random mask, pre-process random mask, and she masks her input with that random mask, opens that to all parties, and then parties adjust the MAC and the share such that XA is going to be shared across all parties. So inputs require a random mask to mask the input and then open that. To open, to make a value going from a secret shared to a cleared one, we call this process opening. So going from shared to clear, we open this value by each party broadcasting their share, and then they're going to do the MAC check. And to do an XOR, so if these are bits, to do XOR in FP requires to do one multiplication. It's not free, such as when you're working over Boolean shares. Why? Because this X times X XOR Y is basically X plus Y minus 2 times XY. That's if you're doing stuff over arithmetic. So to do the XOR, we retrieve a beaver triple, we use that beaver triple, and then we do the XOR. So we open stuff based on that beaver triple, we do the MAC check, and then we have the share of the XOR. This is what we care about. Now let's talk about a bit about speeds BMR, which works over Boolean circuits. So we have a circuit. This is the AND between inputs A and B, and then we take that output and then we AND it with Charlie's input. And this is a circuit, Boolean circuit. And to provide inputs, each party, it's a bit similar with the speeds over mod P shares. We just retrieve some random masks. Every party broadcasts their masks. And these are the signal bits, which are going to be used to evaluate this garbled circuit. It's not important how this garbled circuit in our workings are. We just care about providing inputs, and they're cheap because these are just random bits, so you can batch lots of stuff together. XORs are for free in the garbled circuit setting, and to do a mod P operation requires you some AND gates because you need to emulate the mod P addition circuit over shares, over Boolean shares. Okay, so the main idea here is we have a sharing which lives mod P, and we want to convert to a sharing which lives in F2. How do we do that? Basically, it's just like a bit decomposition, but without actually doing the bit decomposition here. So we start with a share mod P X. What do we do usually? Well, we just when we do this malicious protocols, we try to mask as much as possible. So we retrieve a random R, and if we subtract this R from X and then we open X, this as I said, when you're opening stuff in speeds, you need to do some check. You need to do some MAC check. So you're going to use this public input to this garbled circuit, and then you're going to add the randomness inside the garbled circuit. This is the main idea. So you have your randomness which lives mod P, and you have your randomness which lives mod 2. And to switch between mod P and mod 2, you need the same randomness in both words. Now, how are we going to generate the same randomness in both words? That's the main question. Well, we're introducing the daBits. This is Usain Bolt. I don't know how many people get this reference of dabbing, but I don't know how popular it is. It's in the US. So what is this daBit construction? Well, how do you construct this random masks that live in both words? Well, let's start with each party starts with some random bits, BA, BB, and BC. So each has like its own random bits. And what each party does now is inputs those random bits to the MPC engine. So we have this speeds which works over mod P, and we have this speeds which works over F2. So we input these bits to the MPC engines, and we get some sharings, right? So now we have every party has those bits shared, and we would like to do like some XOR. So we have many random bits input by each party, and we open some of the stuff to check that there are actually indeed bits, so that parties did not cheat. Now we do the XOR between those bits, and we're going to open some more bits, and in the end we end up with some tiny amount of bits. But it turns out that this is actually quite efficient to do. So this is what's called in the literature cut and choose technique. This is basically inspired from the TinyOT protocol of bucketing. Cool. So what's the performance of generating these daBits? We have, for comparison purposes, we compare with one speeds triple, one speeds BMR triple, which is mascot, and this is the daBit. So we have the speeds triple, the speeds P triple is like, this is the amount of communication. So we have around for two parties, we have less than 100 kilobits. And we can see that the daBit is slightly less than a mascot triple for two parties in the communication. So the total amount of communication. For more parties, it's a bit more communication than a mascot triple. Yes. 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 Oh, more?
No, the passive setting, you can do bit decomposition in the passive setting.
Yes. Yes.
So, what is the, can you measure like the overhead doing plus mod P in the Boolean more expensive or generating the daBits?
Oh. I have some numbers for that. The daBits are, it depends what kind of garbling you're using, right? Because if you're going to use WRK, that's going to be fast to garble, I don't know, 1,000 AND gates for just doing the addition. For generating these daBits, I'm going to show you some graphs later. But if I remember correctly, these daBits are actually cheaper than doing the garbling for the mod P arithmetic. Okay, so this is the communication cost for generating one daBit. Now to have like that random mask, we actually need more than one daBit. We need, depending on the field size, we usually use like 128 daBits for that. Okay, so now per conversion, what does that mean? To generate 128 daBits, the total amount of communication is around 85 kilobits. So this also depends on the batch size we start for the cut and choose, because if you're going to have like larger buckets, then we can amortize lots. We can amortize many daBits, so we can get like overall we get like cheaper pre-processing for each daBit. So this is for starters. We're generating 1,000. We start with 8,000 at a time, and then we decrease the bucket size as we sacrifice. So the total amount per daBit is this is for one daBit. So this is 85 kilobits. So the main bottleneck here is doing the XORs in FP arithmetic. So doing the XORs in speeds P. The bits used for mascot, or the bits which live in mod 2 MPC engines, those are cheap to produce. So you can see that the generation of the daBit is much smaller than it's much smaller in terms of communication cost than the whole triple using the whole triple generation protocol, which is going to be used for the XORs. So we have, and the time is quite small. So we have 0.1 milliseconds for generating one daBit. So this is amortized cost. Okay, so we have some code as well. This is MP-SPDZ. This is the fork framework by Marcel now, who works in Australia. But nevertheless, it's open source, and we worked with that. So we have an ascent, which is a mod P share, and we can do something like we can take this mod P share and we can switch to the garbled circuit setting. So now we have mod 2 share, and this bit decomposition comes for free because now that share is in the garbled circuit, and we can easily print those values. Nevertheless, this is still a prototype because if you're going, so this code works, but to merge the speeds, the speeds machine which works mod 2 and the speeds BMR machine which works mod, so mod P and mod 2, to merge those machines, they have a whole lot of set of instructions, and that requires some extra engineering effort. We haven't done that, but that's working in the future. So this code works, but if you're gonna do like more complicated stuff with FP, we need to write code for that. So we have the switching instruction for now. This is what I'm saying. So the online cost per conversion, which is just plugging in, okay. Yeah, so the daBits are actually slower than the garbling. So the online cost, what I mean by just plugging in those public inputs and unmasking the randomness inside the garble circuit, that's like 0.1 milliseconds. So going from an SINT to SBIT, it requires around 300 AND gates if we assume that the inputs are bounded. So we're not actually doing the mod P inside this garble circuit. We're just doing addition over the integers because that's like even cheaper than mod P. I mean, all of the protocols that are implemented for mod P shares and speeds, and when you're doing like some bit decomposition, for example, they assume that the inputs are bounded to get some statistical security. So if we also assume that the inputs are bounded, but we can also do that with unbounded inputs. So if we assume that the inputs are bounded, we just need to do the addition over the integers rather than addition mod P inside the garble circuit. And going from SBIT to SINT is just using daBits, and the online cost is very small. It's just computation, so just mod P arithmetic. And this is 8 times slower than the ABI version so this is 2-party case, malicious, and we're 8 times lower than ABI, which is honest, the semi-honest version of going from arithmetic to YAO garbling. Okay, so Usain Bolt approves. This is slightly fast. So what's next? What's next? Well, nowadays Scale Mamba has WRK inside it. So it also has all the pre-processing phases connected. So it's like it's the perfect candidate for daBit because we use all sorts of pre-processing. So we need those random bits. We need those bits in the garble circuit setting, and we need those bits in the mod P setting, and we need some pre-processing to generate those random bits to do the XORs and whatnot. And Scale Mamba is ideal now because it has all integrated. And the moral of the story is if you stitch your protocols together, such that we just don't run the pre-processing phase separately and the online phase separately, it's going to be much easier to integrate. Nevertheless, when we've done this work, WRK was not in Scale Mamba, so that's why we've done the speeds and speeds BMR phase, speeds and speeds BMR in MP speeds. So yes.
Do you have like a threshold where just doing everything jumping to BMR, like how many gates should the Boolean circuit have to make this?
Yeah. So this is how many gates we need.
This is to the conversion.
Yes.
I'm just saying that what if I just ran everything to GMP?
Yes.
As opposed to moving to BMR.
Okay.
Now I'm asking, there must be a threshold where doing this conversion, like the Boolean part must be sufficiently big. Is there like a threshold that you observe saying, oh, if my Boolean computation was so many gates, then it makes sense to do this?
We have an example in our paper where we do a linear SVM, which just does AX plus B, and then you do an argmax of that. And turns out that doing doing the linear SVM in speeds, just in speeds versus just doing the linear SVM just by speeds BMR, that's going to be much slower than our method, which is like our method is 10 times faster. So if you convert
communication rate?
It's the total time. So
you only measure time, not communication.
Communication is like, I think if we, yeah. So we also instantiate the preprocessing with WRK. So when we're doing the preprocessing with WRK, thankfully we have that protocol now. That it's only like slightly 2 times worse than doing speeds. The whole so the preprocessing using just speeds, that's gonna be faster than ours. Ours is gonna be like 2 times slower than speeds in the preprocessing. So doing the linear SVM with our approach, so doing AX plus B in the speeds and then argmax in the garble circuit, is going to be 10 times faster than just doing either speeds or just speeds PMR. So we do, and that's when we're actually doing like many conversion, like 100 for AX plus B, because you need to convert from AX plus B. And then you need to do the conversion, and then you need to do the argmax inside the garble circuit. So we're 10 times better than just using one approach. Okay, thank you.
Cost to do the modular operation inside of the circuit?
Yeah, so we're trying to integrate VHDL in Scale Mamba now, because we want to optimize some of the garble circuits such that we have those additions optimized. And to do like a 128, if we optimize to do like when P is 128-bit long, and to optimize the number of AND gates, we get like around 900 AND gates to do the addition mod P. What we did, like in this paper, we haven't optimized for special primes. Yeah, if you optimize for special primes, you can get like fewer AND gates. But we just consider like P is close to a power of 2, because otherwise, the thing is that we have some limitations in the sense that if P is not close to a power of 2, then you need to assume that the inputs are bounded, because then you need that statistical security, because it's not going to wrap around. But if P is close to a power of 2, then all of this works. And for 128-bit prime, we get around 900 AND gates. We haven't optimized for special primes. Yeah, but we haven't optimized for special primes. Thanks.
Hey,
Thank you.